In this video, you will learn how to increase Amazon conversion rate using psychographics in your Amazon listing copy. Yes, me too. I have no idea what means psychographics, but we will find this out very soon from Robin Johnson. She's the CEO of Marketplace Blueprint Agency, and she's also an Amazon consultant, and she very much focuses on digital marketing and advertising. And before we move on with the content, I wanted to mention that this session is part of Seller Fest Online virtual event, which is sponsored by three companies. The first one is Carbon 6. It's a suite of tools that makes it easy to optimize and streamline every aspect of your Amazon business. Check the link below in the description. The next company, which is part of this event, is Getida. They're an Amazon FBA auditing company, and they help to maximize FBA reimbursements for sellers of any size. Their offer and the link below in the descriptions. And last but not least, Quartile is also part of this event. They are AI-powered advertising optimization platform that helps sellers and brand owners to maximize their potential in e-commerce. So you can find their link and offer below in the description as well. So these are three companies helping us to run this virtual event. And this session I'm hosting together with Lisette. Hello, Lisette. She works with different Amazon brands.
Hi, Augustus. Thank you for introducing me, and I'm happy to be back here. And I'm also ready to learn what this topic is about. I know there are definitely new things to learn, so I'm excited to welcome Robin here. Hi.
Hi, I'm so excited to share.
So before we go into the topic itself, could you first introduce yourself and tell us a little bit what you do and what's your background in Amazon space?
Yeah, so I'm the CEO of Marketplace Blueprint. You might have known me before. We had a previous brand called Best from the Nest. I started selling on Amazon about 12 years ago. I've been eating, sleeping, breathing Amazon ever since. So we've had, the opportunity to. I write regularly for Search Engine Journal. I work with brands that are like some that are small, like typical private label brands that are just getting started. We have a lot of Shark Tank companies that work with us, and then we also have worked with companies as big as publicly traded. So we've worked with a variety of sizes, and our agency really focuses on trying to help brands either come in and get better profitability and sales volume from Amazon. Even as a seller, we really focused on profitability, and so we kind of are always excited to share what we've learned over our decade plus experience of selling on Amazon.
Awesome. We always love people who want to share their experience and knowledge. So we are ready for your presentation. And I also wanted to mention that Robin will answer to all of your questions in the end of her presentation. So be sure to type in your questions as well. And I think we do have your presentation ready already. So yeah, let's go.
All right. So we're going to talk about psychographics to build compelling listings. And you might say, well, my listings are already doing pretty well. Why do I really need to listen to this thing about psychographics? It sounds like a bunch of hoo-ha. And I would have probably said the same thing 5 or 6 years ago. You didn't need to do this. There wasn't enough competition out there. As long as it was kind of Field of Dreams, you would build it, you would just do some basic advertising and your product would sell. As we see more and more people sell on Amazon, and as we see larger brands come into Amazon, we're seeing a disruption in the market. And what worked before isn't working as well. So the things I'm going to share today with some simple things of how to change your copy, how to change your images can make a giant difference in the effectiveness of your ads. And we've seen this from small companies all the way up to publicly traded companies that had 4 other agencies optimize their listings before this. So I can tell you from experience that a well-optimized listings where you consider the psychographics of your customer will increase the conversion rate and increase the way your ads are performing. Now, this leads to direct lines to increase profitability. And this is also going to help you. Not only is it going to help you reduce your ad spend, it's going to help you build a brand of customers that people are avid about following. And it's going to make sure that you help create products that people love. So once you understand this, the first draft of this, you might already have a couple products out, and then you're going to apply it to this. Then I would love to see you apply this as you develop future products, as you develop the packaging, as you develop and even deciding what products to bring to market. This will help you be profitable all the way throughout your business. And it's the one thing that we see that companies that embrace this do the best on Amazon and have the best launches consistently over time. So let's go ahead here. Oh, there we go. All right. So I just want to make a quick note here that no amount of optimization is going to compensate for poor product selection, inadequate keyword research, or lack of a launch strategy. This is not Field of Dreams anymore. You need to come with your A game with a product that you've researched well, that you've made sure that you have some kind of golden gap. You're bringing something of value to the market. We see the best sustainable results with products that bring value to the marketplace. So not just another garlic press, but something that solves a problem or fulfills a need. And it can be even just in the way that you package or present your product that makes your product different. That is a possibility, but it needs to be done artfully to do that. So I just want to say this will help, but it's not going to compensate for if you have a poor advertising strategy or you've done like a poor product research. That it won't band-aid over that. So there are times where you just have to say, I'm going to let this product go and I'm going to try again with something else. So in the past, listing optimization was all about keywords. Your copy didn't really need to be very good because it was once indexed, it was easy to rank for important keywords. Now there's fewer organic spots that are on Amazon. We're limited in the characters and the important indexable fields, and there are increased competitions. So all of this means before we were just kind of trying to include as many root keywords as possible. We just wanted to have as many doors. So if we think about each keyword phrase as a door, we wanted to have our product show up as high as possible for as many doors as possible. Everybody, even publicly traded companies that are large and have a lot of investor dollars, every company has an upward limit of how much they can spend on advertising. There is a finite amount that you can do. There's also a finite amount of characters that you have in the listing. So we want to do our best to balance with what the resources that we have to get the best yield for your products. So apologize when this uploaded to this one some of them didn't upload the formatting correctly. This is one of them. So psychographics versus demographics. So let's go ahead and talk about demographics. You probably have already heard about demographic. This relates to the structure of a population, things like race, sex, income. Demographics are used in a broad variety of areas, including marketing and business, to help you develop things like policies and do like research. So an example of a demographic is going to be, you might have done this. Like my customer is female, 24-year-old, earning about this much per year, 20 to 30,000 per year. They're an executive assistant, or maybe you even looked at their race and where they're located. And this can help you identify some things that are going to help you market better to your customers, but it's pretty limited. And the reason for that is you might have two people that fit into this demographic, female, 24, 20 to 30,000 per year in the same job position, same race, same location. And the problem is that when the first one might be Kelly, who's a devout Catholic, pro-life advocate, Republican, NRA member, loves art, avid concert goer. The second person who has that same exact demographic is going to be Alyssa, who's going to be trans, non-binary, atheist, been passionate about the environment, loves hiking and kayaking, and is really focused on composting and gardening. While they have the same demographic information, their psychographics are going to be very different. And when we talk about psychographics, we want to look at personality, values, attitudes, interests, and lifestyle. So psychographics will help you to identify buyer intent. So we want to focus on the keywords that are going to be relevant to your focus, your target buyer. And we want to write copy that compels those conversions. So this will reduce your overall launch costs and help you build brand affinity. So let's talk a little bit about what psychographics are a little bit too. So psychographics are going to be more about the internal and external things that motivate a buyer. So if you wanted to kind of oversimplify things, let's say that if I'm selling Ford trucks in Dallas, Texas, then if I'm looking at trying to market those and we're developing an ad set, putting Nancy Pelosi in front of that truck is not going to ring well. The things that motivate that buyer, a Ford truck in Dallas, Texas that's not electric, they're not going to be motivated by having Nancy Pelosi in the picture. Same thing for a Tesla ad in Washington, D.C. or Washington State. You wouldn't want, that Ron DeSantis or somebody else from the Republican Party in front of your Tesla ad. Sometimes these things are slight and sometimes they're very big, but identifying what are the things that motivate your purchaser and including those things and helping them to identify that this is the right product gives them a level of safety and trust that helps you convert your products at a higher rate. So let's go ahead and look at the example of a silicone reusable bag. And the reason I use this is because I was recently buying these. My husband is really into sous vide, and it breaks my heart how much plastic we're using to sous vide our meats every week. And I have a friend that was using these reusable bags. Now she's going to be the target customer that I'm going to really focus on, because she's for reusable bags, she is the exact psychographic target audience that I would pick. So she is, she's her real focus is really around protecting the environment. She already composts. She doesn't use paper towels. Everything in her house is kind of geared towards trying to reduce the amount of waste that she has. She purposely avoids products that have plastic because she doesn't want to contribute to the plastic problem. However, you look at a lot of the reusable silicone bags on Amazon, and I'm not saying everybody come do a reusable silicone bag, but if you look at a lot of them, they're mostly talking about other pieces. Many of them don't even mention the environmental impact. So they talk about the size of the bag, they talk about how they can wash them, and all those things are important. But the primary reason that somebody's going to buy one of these bags, for the most part, is going to be because they want to reduce their plastic footprint. So when we look at the kind of the psychographics of that buyer, instead of just saying, okay, we're looking for somebody in their 40s that is high income earners, that's probably democratic, you could look at those, but you're going to have more insight into the customer if you say, okay, the buyer, the psychographic makeup of this buyer is somebody who really cares about the environment. They're cared about their personal health and wellness, but they're also cared about the global health and wellness. And while saving money is important to them, it's not going to be as important as reducing the amount of waste. And the reason we know this is because Ziploc bags have a much lower cost. It's much cheaper to buy Ziploc bags. So we already know that somebody who's willing to do this is willing to set up a much higher cost up front. Now, there might be people who want to buy reusable Ziploc bags to save money, but more of those folks are going to be like I love my dearly departed mother-in-law, but she would wash her Ziploc bags because she didn't want to pay for them again. So, just the thrifty customers, I don't think that they're going to be the ideal customer for these. They're going to be environmentally conscious and value companies that would have a good social proposition. So these aren't going to be companies that like giving to Clean Seas or the thing that Mr. Beast is doing with the cleaning the ocean thing. That would probably be a good thing to include on packaging. So we want to think about those psychographics as we're writing the listing. So because we talked about this product has a high startup cost, if I'm going to buy stasher bags which is what we've looked for buying our sous vide bag, it's to me $20 to $30, $40 for each bag that we buy. So they do have to have some disposable income, but they have to care about the environment enough to be willing to front that money. And it's also less convenient because we're going to have to wash these bags out. And my dad was like, why are you doing that? That's weird. Why don't you just get a Ziploc bag and throw it away? So they have to care about the environment so much, they're willing to be a little socially unacceptable. So the important ways that you can find psychographics is that you can do surveys. And the color, so when you do customer surveys, you can do things like PickFu, you can do things like SurveyMonkey. Focus groups are something that we don't talk about in our community well enough, but they can be really powerful and they can save you a ton of money. So on my podcast in just like a week or two, I have somebody who's coming on that did a male underwear line, and they did a bunch of surveys and they did a bunch of focus groups. And what they found is that their customer primarily wore black underwear. So when they developed this product, they really focused on comfort. And then they didn't bother doing a bunch of funny prints or zazzy prints. They just focused on one color. They just did black. And by doing that, it decreased their costs significantly. It made their inventory so much more streamlined. Now, we wouldn't want to do this without some testing. We won't want to do this off a guess, but we want to get some information for your customers. So take the time to do the focus groups. I cannot tell you the number of products that we've gone and done focus groups after the fact, after the product is already struggling, and we found out, if we had just made this in blue, it would have sold better. Or if we had changed the packaging on this, it would have sold better. Now, you can do that even just by looking at the reviews of your competitors' listings. Here, there are people who are saying, the thing that really irked me was I ordered these reusable bags to stop using plastic, and it came in a plastic bag. Sorry, I'm sick. That's why my voice is breaking out, but I didn't want to miss today. So you can see that that was the problem. So you can see that that the color was not as important as safety, and they were willing to pay more for environmentally friendly packaging. So they would, and then a lot of times in some of these, they say, I would not repurchase these products simply because they came in a plastic bag. So if you're looking at this, you might be thinking of plastic. I had somebody say, I'm going to market this product as environmentally conscious because I'm just going to put it in a bag instead of a cardboard box. Cardboard box is always more environmentally friendly than it is a plastic bag. So by simply changing the materials that were in the packaging, even if they were greenwashed, where maybe it says it's biodegradable, and maybe it's not completely according to many of the people that would buy things from you. At least if you can see an effort, I think you'd see more people willing to buy. And if you look at the Stasher brand, you'll see that it does come in pretty much just a cardboard piece. There's no plastic that comes in the wrapping, and the wrapping really does kind of stay in alignment with the brand. So once you know your customer, now you'll know the features that are the most important to them. And this could be something that's not even mentioned on your competitors' listings. And while doing reverse ASIN searches and looking at your competitors and kind of robbing and developing what works best can get you a long way. Sometimes even in established markets, the main thing that speaks to customers the most isn't even being addressed. And that's really your opportunity to help get really avid followers around your brand and have your brand stand out when your competitors have a lot of reviews and they already have a lot of traction. So to write copy that compels purchase, your listing content needs to be more than facts. And in kind of there's an additional thing you can purchase as part of this conference. And I actually wrote out like how we do writing creative briefs for our writers and how we do like image briefs. And if you're not doing image and creative briefs, then your images are probably not coming back the way that you want often. And you're probably not getting the creative control that you really need in order to be able to effectively A/B test things. So you really do want to make sure that you're not just throwing things to a graphic designer and just slapping up the first 5 things that work. We want to make sure that you're really focusing on copy that compels purchases. So when we're talking about things that are really compelling to buyers, what we want to think about is internal versus external problems. Now, this is something that I picked up from Donald Miller. He wrote a book called Story Brand, and I highly recommend it, even for physical products. It's a great way to look at how to reframe your products. And he says people don't buy the best product. They buy the product that they understand the fastest. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that when people go to look at your brand, they have that connection instantly. They can see that you understand that their needs are being met. And the thing about needs is there's internal versus external problems. Those internal problems are the things that motivate people the most. The external problems are the things that most people are writing their bullets towards, and they are effective, but they are not as effective as writing towards internal needs or problems. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that. So let's say I want to get a new lunchbox for my son. Let's pretend my son is in elementary school and he needs a new lunchbox. And I know that from last year I really need it to be easy to clean, and I need it to fit in his backpack. These are some of the external problems that I have as a mom. But as a mom with elementary school kids, I'm also worried about, I feel like my kid isn't eating enough healthy foods. Like I want to make sure that he eats really healthy. And, I feel like he didn't do that last year. So this year I'm going to try doing those cute little bento lunch things because I want my child to eat healthier. And, I'm worried he's not eating enough at school. And then there's also a little bit of internal thing of like, oh, I don't want the teacher to think that I'm a slacky mom or that, that I don't care. And so there's kind of this keeping up with the Joneses that I think every mom has to a degree, some bigger, some small, where they feel like, they're going to be judged if they don't send a healthy lunch. So a lot of times when people are writing listings, they just write to the external problems, that this lunchbox is 5x7, it's easy to clean, dishwasher safe. But you can be missing out on a great opportunity that says that, how that listing, how that particular product is going to help your child eat healthier. So this bento box provides you small compartments to provide your child a variety of healthy items. And so you can really key into the things that are the most important internal needs to make sure that your customers get everything that they want. Customers trust a product more when you use the language that they use to describe your product. And that means even if the way they are describing your product is incorrect, if technically there's a part of your product that's not used, that people are using a different kind of language, sometimes it's appropriate to use that mislabeling or that mislanguage in the listing to help customers understand that kind of where they're coming from. You want to mimic their language. And we can see this not only from focus groups, from Survey Monkeys, but we can also look at the reviews of our product and our competitors to make sure sometimes what we'll do is we'll take all of that content, we'll put it into a word cloud, and we'll use that, or you could use a frequency counter like writewords.uk.org to help you identify which of those keywords are really important. And then what you're going to do is you want to mimic those keywords as much as possible. So you want to address their primary concerns in your listing. This includes and this includes both in the copy and in the images. So this means understanding if your product is geared towards people of a certain economic status, whether it's high or low, all of your images should be slightly aspirational. But if you're selling mid-range coffee, you should have mid-range kitchen in your image. It shouldn't be a super luxury kitchen. However, if you're selling a high-end coffee, it should be a luxury kitchen that's in the background. Let me tell you something that's very, very important that gets missed. If your product is geared towards people of specific ethnicity or culture, please use the models of the right skin tone so that customers understand that this product is for them. And if your product is, it is important to have that diversity on some of your products to help you identify. So skin tone in your models can also be an important thing depending on the product and who you're marketing to. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide here. So how do we gather these psychographics? The first and most important thing is we don't want to guess. You want to be able to actually know for a fact. In fact, most often when things go horribly, horribly wrong with an established brand and things don't launch the way that they thought they would, it's usually because they guessed on the psychographics. They didn't do any research. They didn't go back and make sure that things were the way that they are. So this research should be done before the product is even created. You should do your psychographic research before then. If you haven't done that, that's okay. Do it now. And that will also help you to see, how far off you are. This will help you refine your product and actual SKU mix by doing this actual focus grouping, doing some surveys. It can even just be as simple as, getting in a Facebook group community and working with the leader of that group to see if you can run a paid study as part of their group. Packaging can help a lot with conversion, and by doing the psychographic research, it can really give you key insights about the buyer. We've talked a little bit about green products and how important the packaging is for that, but also for some products, perceived value is really important. So increasing the package size volume, and watching so you're underneath the next size tier, but you've got enough packaging to provide some perceived value is very important. If you don't know how packaging and perceived value works, you should Google that. It's really, really important as you develop products. Packaging is really underrated. You think it's only for retail stores, but it is definitely also applies for e-commerce. We have some additional challenges with e-commerce to make sure things are shippable and profitable to be shipped, but packaging can play a big role and increase the effect. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that psychographic research finally, and we're going to integrate it into our creative. So we talked about focus groups. You can become a part of online communities. Don't come in and try to spam people. Provide value, learn from those. If you have a tennis product and you're not in at least 10 tennis Facebook groups, there's something wrong. If you are doing a garlic press, which I hope none of you are anymore unless you're really dominating it, you should be in a bunch of cooking, and maybe you should be in a sous vide, or you should be in a bunch of different cooking online communities. See what the problems people in those communities are facing, and even if you're just lurking and developing products based off of that, and using things like SurveyMonkey or small focus groups to finalize things, that works really well. Google Analytics, SEMrush has some tools where you can kind of see where listings or where websites are getting some of their traffic from. That can be really important. Customer surveys, product reviews, and then also influencer feedback. So not asking influencers to promote your product, but just asking them for feedback can also be a great place. You want to start to cultivate that relationship early on. So the first step is to talk or listen in on those conversations. Make sure you're noting the internal and external problems they're trying to solve, and list that all of these pieces as part of your research. Then, if possible, go back and create products that will meet these specific goals. This might mean you might need to make a small change to a mold, but that would have a big impact on your overall sales. So this is where this will help you yield in your product research. And then you're going to outline your capital call out. So this is, when people put the first three letters and first four words in capitals, we call those CCOs. You're going to take your CCOs and you want to brainstorm the top 5 to 10 benefits. And you want to focus on the internal problems. So the internal motivation. So this is going to be things around avoiding looking bad, wanting to look good, feeling inadequate. Those kind of things can help you kind of looking at how is this product going to solve a problem, especially things where there's social pressure around. And you want to narrow to the most compelling and relevant. And I would recommend, if you're already after you're already launched, A/B test these different capital callouts to find out which is the most impactful. So with this capital callouts, they can help bring attention to the benefits of your product. However, sometimes we don't see that the CCOs are connected to the buyer motivations. So, for example, I just took this off of I love Ahsoka. So I was actually looking for an Ahsoka wallet, and it said dimensions. First of all, dimensions is nothing. Nobody as a customer is saying dimensions. Looking for dimensions. They want to say, will it fit in my product? Or will this product fit in my purse? Or how many cards does it carry? So something more like the perfect size for, something along those lines would be more effective. And then, so we want to, with the CCOs, we want to recommend that you draft 3 versions of each, and then test. And then make them 2 to 5 words, concise and clear. If you can make them clearer, if you can make them more conciser. If you can make your CCOs more concise, that's always going to be a benefit to you. So with silicone bags, you might get to BPA free and chemical free, reduce the plastic you use, easy to clean, leak proof, freezer and sous vide friendly. And I will tell you that there is a gap in the market right now for reusable bags that are sous vide friendly. So you could, by doing this research, you might uncover an area that, a lot of people are missing. So write out your bullets. So you're going to use the top internal and benefits for your CCOs, and then you're going to use your keyword research, and you're going to write out the bullets that have the external pieces, the external problems that are going to help you kind of support that claim. So you want to prioritize relevancy and frequency always when it comes to keywords, and we want to ensure that all purchase stopping questions are answered in the bullets. Sometimes people will say, look at all my listing has got all of these questions. Questions are a bad thing on your listing. Question means that a customer came to your product, they wanted to buy badly enough that they were willing to ask this question instead of hit add to cart or go to another listing. So that means that there's something stopping customers from buying. So we want to make sure you're addressing that. If you see questions on your listing or your competitors, this is where you have the biggest opportunity for change. So the next step is I want you to look at your imagery. So, and I went through a lot of the content, like building out the content and the imagery more in the additional session I recorded for this. But when you're creating, let's hold on a second. Okay, so when you're creating imagery, your images should match your customers. What you expect your customers to have in their home, or be slightly aspirational. It's important to embed internal problems and solutions into the images if possible, and you want to mirror the bullets. So this particular product is a beer bread, and what makes this beer bread special is that it's very easy to produce this bread consistently every time. And so a lot of people will use this bread as kind of like a staple for their parties. This is, when we delved into the customer, we talked to the customer, this particular brand is very connected to their customer. And so that they know that this is a big key selling point for them. So you can see here, they have the bread, but in the background, we see a bunch of women having a great time with pristine. If you notice that the plating of these items, it's all pristine. It's all, like if I had a really impressive party, this would look really nice. We can see the shadows are all going the right way. And what it does is in the background, that extra image of those women in the background, what it provides is it provides people to understand the ability to see, oh, this is how I can solve that problem of not wanting to serve fresh bread, but not being sure how it's going to turn out each time. Okay, so if I compare this to one of the images that is on a similar product, another beer bread. One of their images is this cup of beer with a bunch of different breads. None of these breads are the breads that their product makes. It's just beer in bread. And while it is kind of relevant, it's not really relevant. The internal motivation for some of these is, will I be able to impress my guests? Will it taste delicious? Will I, am I going to put through all of this work in and have it not turn out? So the bottom bread in this competitor listing is not even the bread that the kit makes. So they have these two images here. And the image of the actual bread, it should be on a nice serving platter in an aspirational kitchen, and it should be shown, like plated, ready to go for a party. Or it should be like, or if they determine this is more of a family meal thing, then you could also have one with a party and then one where it's plated for a family dinner. If people, then the internal need for that was to be able to provide this like home cooked meal for your family, then having that bread and with a nice meal with like healthy vegetables, with two kids eating really happily, that would also in turn add those internal and external needs. So, and then with the image overlay, with the text overlay, what you're going to do is you want to add in there, excuse me, I have to cough. You want to add in there things that talk about how, that it's easy to make, that it's going to produce these consistent results. So you're going to kind of mirror those things. So over the image here, you might have a little text box that says delicious bread every time. And then, or impressively easy to make, and having that be a banner that's in a text box. And this allows you to kind of make sure that when somebody is looking at your items on mobile, that they're going to get the most important pieces of your bullets, the things that would stop people from purchasing, or make them wonder if the product is for them. We want to make sure all of those things are answered in the bullets. So I'm running out of time here. So I have one last thing that I want to talk about, and then I'm happy to answer as many questions as you like. The thing is that you want to trust but verify. So while you get these survey informations, it's important to make sure you note your conversion rates before you make these changes. One thing that can happen, especially if you're guessing on demographics. So we had a brand that came to us that said, this is where we think our customers are. So we adjusted the listings to do that. They thought that their product was primarily bought by grandparents to do with their kids. So there was a product that was really for kids. So we did their listings to kind of, and most of their products did well, but we had found out that one of their kits that was kind of like had more detail in it, the conversion just completely tanked. And the reason was that particular kit wasn't being bought by people who wanted to buy it, make it with their kids. There were people who wanted to make it for themselves. They were looking for something, an easy craft for them to do with their spouse or even just with them. So we needed to redo the listing to ensure that it matched that older demographic, while the other products, we kept that younger demographic. And so switching out the kids for adults, changing the colors so that they were less primary and more focused on like a palette that was more sophisticated would be what you would want to do. If you end up writing to the wrong avatar, you will see a conversion drop. And also be sure to make sure you're looking at your ads data before changing and while you're testing. So if you think this particular customer is going to come in through this door, and as you start to launch your products, you see that the keywords that you thought were going to convert for ads are not converting, that's a key indicator that we need to go back and look at the listing and rewrite. Now, you might be fine without rewriting it, but you could be potentially missing out on a lot of opportunity. So it is important to A/B test these things as you continue to grow. So if you're a product that has like dominated, done really well in private label, it's important that you go back and do this on your product, even if you feel like you have it handled. The reason for that is that as more traditional brick and mortar brands are turning towards Amazon, they are going to come and eat your lunch unless you have really solid, started to build up a brand with some brand affinity. And you have, because they have that brand affinity, it'd be easy for them to take market share back. So you need to make sure that you're really speaking to that customer. So when and if they do come in, you're prepared. So I hope that was helpful. And I don't know if there's any questions or not. Oop, I can't hear you.
It was me. It was my mistake.
Okay.
So you're all
Okay.
good. So yeah, I said thank you for this interesting presentation. You gave away a lot of different details and things to, I think sellers can now go and even learn more about, because I think there's a lot of things to kind of figure out how to get the information, how to analyze it, and then how to apply it to the listing. But yeah, before we go to the questions, I also wanted to mention that if you enjoyed what Robin explained, then definitely like this video and also subscribe to Orange Click YouTube channel. And now Augustus wants to introduce the VIP video you also produced.
Yes. So before we introduce the VIP content from Robin, I wanted to mention that because this session is part of Seller Fest Online virtual event where we have 25 speakers presenting, we asked every speaker to bring us additional content which is going in more depth, or let me share the screen. So there are different sessions. Some speakers, experts, they are sharing case studies, some sharing templates to download, some go with advanced strategies, going deep into specific topic with and provide you actionable steps. And I wanted to ask Robin what she is sharing in her VIP content.
So, even if you are a person that likes creative, I'm a person that loves creating content, but even in our agency, I don't do the creative of the images because I don't have that skill set. So for most people, you are going to need to outsource the writing and the imagery, or at least one of those. And, over the last 6 years of working in an agency and developing content for a lot of different brands, what we really have kind of honed in on is how to write creative briefs to get the images that we want for our brands. And we've worked with a variety of different sizes of brands. So in this, we kind of talked a little bit specifically about what we do in trying to create that content, and then what do we do to communicate that to our creative team to make sure that that creative is done in a way that includes all of the wonderful, yummy keyword research and psychographic research that we've done, and to make sure that we're matching the brand guidelines.
Yes, perfect. And yeah, if you will find the link below in the description to visit this page and to read more what every speaker is offering. And also, once you upgrade, you will get into the membership area and you will get access to all these videos. And this will be the video from Robin. All right, thank you very much. And now we can have a few questions.
Yes, let's go ahead. So the first question is psychographics data and buyer persona the same thing?
They can be, they're. I mean, if you get really into it, people who are really into this will say that they're different. But for the most part, you can kind of there's a lot of similar pieces that are going to be in there. You're going to use your psychographic data to build your buyer persona. And while buyer personas are really helpful, and so are psychographics, you have to remember not everybody's going to fit into any one target. And so you kind of have to use all of that with a grain of salt. So I don't know if that answered the question or not, but.
Okay, yeah, good. So one question about influencers. So when I make calls with influencers to learn more about my target audience, what questions should I ask from them?
So I would ask them, so first you want to build up a relationship with them so it doesn't feel like a take. Now this could be like where you paid them for some of their time to have some private like feedback on your product. But some of the questions I would ask is, what would you say that the products that are out there now are missing? Or is there any unmet needs that you think that would make the product different? Or how do you find that people are adapting the products that are currently out there in order to work better for them? So it could be that you find that a lot of your customers are taking their product and having to make changes on it to make it work for their use case. And if that's the case, then there might be enough market share for you to make that change to the mold that you can avoid them having to do that. The other thing I would ask them is what things are important to when they're looking to make a purchase. What are the things that they're looking for that would stop them from making a purchase, and what are the things that would what are the kind of words or the kind of the kind of content that would really help them say, okay, this customer understands me. And sometimes those things can be really small. So like in the Lego community, they never talk about the word Legos. It's always Lego. In the Disney community, there's a lot of there's certain things that like inside jokes and things that that when I see that in those listings, I say, okay, this particular seller really understands the product and really understands what it is I'm looking for as far as a customer. So it can help build that trust, if that makes sense.
Okay, good. So a question about demographics. So can I see the demographics data of my Amazon customers in Seller Central?
Yes, you can. I don't usually use it. The reason why is, one, I buy stuff for when I make purchases on my account. I make purchases for my son, I make purchases for my husband, I make purchases for my daughter, and it's come from friends. But it's always going to show my demographics, and also those demographics are very broad. I mean, it's like they're really, really broad. They're not going to be helpful in making you like get fine tune your results. So while I'm glad that they provide that data, and I think it's good to look at. It's in brand analytics, in the brand analytics dashboard. I find that it's too broad to really make content decisions off of, and that we need to do additional research outside of that.
All right, let's take a few more questions. By the way, we have happy people. Matase says thank you. That was very interesting. They enjoyed your presentation. And Jeff noticed a helmet in your background. So Mandalorian. I'm not like following this. Is it from one of the movies?
Yeah, so that's Boba Fett, Star Wars, and then I've got Grogu over there. I've got a lot of Star Wars going on.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So next question from the Star Wars. One was the first movie. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
So let's take. Can I get some of this information from any of the social media platforms?
Yes, and so you can get this. You can get this from Twitter communities. Like if there's a chat around your product, you can get it from Facebook groups. But you can also even look at the engagement that you're getting from certain posts. So if you have a really active social media that you're using to kind of drive additional brand awareness, then one of the things that we like to do when we take over a brand as our agency is we look at those posts and we say which ones are getting the best organic engagement, and the ones that are getting great organic engagement. That's where we say, okay, let's look at that content and let's see how we can apply it towards the listing. If you're driving traffic to your DTC site from Facebook, look at that conversion, that customer journey. So make sure you have all of the plumbing set up so you can see which ad is really driving what traffic, and on your landing page where people are. You use those heat maps and all of the advanced digital marketing pieces, and then make sure that your Amazon agency is looking at that data as well, because there's a lot of that we can really integrate into the listing. So we love it as an agency when we can work with the Facebook group. We don't do any Facebook ads ourselves, but if we can work with that professional that you have running your social media, that can really help. And sometimes we can help you identify, okay, I would try some, let's try some different creatives. You can even test out video ads on social media and see which ones of those get engagement. And then, not only look at positive engagement like comments and likes, but also look at negative engagements like hides. That can help you identify if you have the targeting correct or incorrect.
Perfect. So people can dive into their social media information, what they can get. And now, how can I create and organize focus group?
So there's several companies out there that provide focus groups. So you could do focus groups near me. If you PM me, I have somebody that was referred to me. You need to do your own due diligence because I've set brands there, but I always get a limited amount of feedback. So you need to make sure you do your own due diligence. If you message me, I can send you that contact. But the focus groups are much less expensive than they used to be because a lot of them are able to be done online after COVID. So you can get a focus group, a professional focus group, for a lot less money. The things that make focus groups good is that you have somebody who's non-biased running the questions, where it's easy for me as a product owner who loves my little baby, to kind of ask leading questions. And if people know that it's me, that they might not be completely answer completely honestly. And also people who run focus groups know what kind of questions to ask, because you can't just say, would you buy this? Because a lot of people would say, yes, I'll buy it, because they don't want to disappoint people. But that's not really the question that you want to ask. Because that doesn't really tell you if they would actually take their wallets out. So there are companies that do professional focus grouping, and then you can kind of do like a mock focus group by kind of using online communities. Just know that there's going to be an inherent set of biasness when you run it yourself that you don't get when you have a third party run it.
Mm-hmm. All right. One more question. What exactly should we try to learn about customers' lifestyle?
So especially if your product is integrated into lifestyle or aesthetics, then you need to make sure that your branding and that your content matches that. So you're not going to have one aesthetic that's going to work for everybody, but you want to make sure that, if you, by understanding kind of like some of the things that are motivating your buyers, you want to pick some things that are the most important to them and integrate those. So you want to look at things like, some easy things. If you're looking for like a checklist of easy things to look at packaging, how they feel about packaging and environmental packaging. Look at they feel about social good. Sometimes social good can be a big thing. Safety testing, especially for products around the consumables, baby items, those things. There have been many things that I've gone to buy over the years that I didn't buy because there was no information about the safety testing that was on there. If you are doing safety testing and a lot of your competitors are not, then include that. If you can provide a clinical study, include that. You can include that clinical study data into your A+ content. We do it all the time, and it makes a big difference in conversion.
Okay, Umar would like to know, what are your views on premium A+ content?
So right now, premium A+ content is limited, has limited availability, right? So not everybody has access to it unless you want to be part of that specific program that Amazon has. As it rules out, I think that for the right product, it's going to be something that I would highly recommend, to be able to integrate the videos into products, especially products that are new to category. So one of the areas that are one of the products that are hardest to bring to market is not to bring another garlic press, but to bring something that's that changes the category, so something that's different than everything else. But be able to have that video on there to provide that indoctrination sequence to help customers really understand your product is going to be really powerful. So I do think that it is worthwhile doing, but right now it's only available to such a limited subset. I haven't really talked about it much because even most of our brands, it's not worth them joining that one product for that particular feature.
Mm-hmm. And Tony is happy also about the content he got. Thanks, he says. And that's it. So Robin, could you mention again how people can get help from you? How do you help, and how can they find you?
Yeah, so if you go to marketplaceblueprint.com/show, then in there I have like links to follow me on social media. I have like a 20-page thing that you can look at, like a listing checklist, and I can even like go and do a quick audit of your listings. But I'm always available on Facebook. LinkedIn, you might have to message me a couple times because there's so many slimy people on there. Sometimes I forget to check those messages. But if I don't answer you, just message me again. Sometimes I just get busy and things get lost. So, and then I have a Facebook group as well, and then a podcast.
All right. So we will have a link in the description to Marketplace Blueprint. Blueprint, right?
Yes, Marketplace Blueprint.
Yeah,
yes.
Marketplace Blueprint. And those who watched and enjoyed the content, which was, I think, really great and went deep or in depth, you can please like and subscribe this video. And if you want to check the VIP session of Robin, check the VIP package linked below as well. And thank you very much, Robin. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. And now we talked about how you can increase conversion rate with psychographics. And now we invite you to watch other video where Emma, the copywriter, is explaining how you can boost your conversions by adding some tips, which she explains for your copy in your product listing. Check this video.